subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to turn on notifications.
A live pre-recorded message.
To all brothers and sisters from Pastor Gino Jennings. First Church is committed to maintaining a high level of professionalism in every aspect of being effective immediately. Please remove and refrain from any further uploading and live streaming of any unprofessional or unauthorized media recordings to the internet. Unprofessional and or unauthorized media includes, but is not limited to, First Church services or messages recorded by personal video cameras, personal audio devices or recorders, cell phones or tablets, including those of Pastor Jennings or any ministering brothers. First Church services not uploaded or authorized by Pastor Jennings or the First Church studio room. Personalized editing of official First Church studio-produced recordings, including the splicing and uploading of excerpts from services and or self-editing services or messages into parts 1, 2, 3, etc. Again, at no time should the above be uploaded or live streamed to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, personal blogs, etc. Please note, you may still record services on your personal devices, but they are to be used for personal viewing or listening only, and not to be shared via social media nor publicly. For clarity, authorized First Church media consists of official telecasts or radio broadcasts, First Church studio telecast DVDs or CDs, First Church studio produced DVDs or CDs, First Church webcasts, and First Church website media. We are asking for your full cooperation in this matter. Please govern yourselves accordingly and be mindful that by your actions you represent not only yourself but First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you and peace be unto you. Pastor Gino Jennings, General Overseer.
I think you're wise, man. I'm not ready for this. I'm gonna go. I'll be back. Put down.
Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, and cryptocurrencies all commission-free. Getting started is easy, and you can invest in the companies you love in a few taps and a swipe. It's time to take control of your financial future.
I'm live on the program by Alfred Desires, a former UN Special Rapporteur, and we're very happy to have you, sir. How would you assess, just firstly, the UN Security Council meeting on Venezuela and US Secretary of State Pompeo's calls for countries to, quote, pick a side and reject what he called Venezuela's legitimate mafia state?
Well, the whole narrative is surrealistic. It's actually obscene to invoke democracy to destroy democracy. It's obscene to invoke human rights to destroy human rights. And by the way, as far as the Europeans, the Treaty of Maastricht, the Treaty of Lisbon, commit them to promote democracy, rule of law, and human rights. And it's impossible, it's incompatible with that commitment to support a coup d'etat. Now, there was a coup d'etat already back in 2002 against Hugo Chavez. That was on the 11th of April, 2002. And what happened is that Pedro Carmona, the head of the Chamber of Commerce of Fede Cámaras, auto-proclaimed himself the new president. The first thing he does, besides abolishing the National Assembly and dismissing the Supreme Court and everything else, so destruction of the rule of law, what happens? He does away with 49 social pieces of legislation. So, of course, Maduro is aware that if he is toppled, that the new neoliberal government is going to destroy the social acquis of Venezuela. Now, people seem to focus only on the so-called humanitarian crisis. Now, what we have is a serious economic crisis. But which are the causes? It's not just as Pompeo would want or as critics contend. It's not just incompetence or corruption, etc. It's the fact that Venezuela is a country that depends to 95% on the sale of oil. If your income drops to 50% of what you had before, you got a problem. And then that usually you can solve. You can solve it, by issuing bonds. You can solve it by taking sovereign debt. What happens is that the economic war that is being waged against Venezuela, the internal economic war, because there actually is a major local problem in the form of hoarding. Private sectors buy food and medicine, then keep them in warehouses, release them to the black market. There's enormous smuggling of subsidize food and medicines into Colombia, into Brazil, etc., etc. So you got an internal problem.
Okay.
But the external problem, these sanctions, and especially the financial blockade, has made it practically impossible.
Let me just ask for the overview of that.
Buy and sell like anybody else.
Still can't believe he ate it.
Yeah, just the overview of that.
Yeah.
You know, what rights does anybody have to recognize? Because we are seeing the U.S. pushing forward, accelerating its focus on Venezuela. What right does Washington have to recognize the opposition leader who has not, of course, been elected president by anyone?
Was I? Oh yes. Seeking revenge on Scadi
Of course he has no right whatever in international law, and it is a violation of customary international law. And what we're seeing here, and it reminds me a lot of the run-up to the 2003 invasion of Iraq, we've seen here a coordinated effort to denounce, demonize Maduro, and to invoke human rights, to say we need regime change because of the Venezuelan people. But who is aggravating the problem? The sanctions have aggravated the problem. The economic war have aggravated the problem. When Maduro needed anti-malaria medicine for an outbreak in November 2017, wanted to buy it in Colombia. Colombia refused to sell. So he had to go and buy it in India. Now, in the report that I presented to the Human Rights Council last September, all of this is documented. I mean, there are hundreds of cases in which the financial transactions that every state needs to survive have been blocked because Citibank or Wells Fargo have closed the accounts of Venezuela. So money doesn't enter, like Brazil owns, I don't know, $50 million worth of electricity
Just to tell our, sorry to
by
interrupt, but just to tell our viewers, just to give
money.
some background on this about your report. You said that U.S. sanctions against Venezuela are illegal and could amount to a crime against humanity. How did you come to that conclusion in that extensive report that you carried out?
Because there is a direct nexus between the sanctions and death. Why is there death? There's malnutrition.
Talk to this here Reed.
What? I can't hear thoughts from rings, Brock. It's talking to me! It's Anvari!
Ha! Knew it.
He says he went to the Velander mines to observe his mistake, but then the Soul Eater attacked, so as he was being ripped apart, he cast a spell that removed his soul and put in this ring. And then he...
What about all his stuff?
Huh?
Anvari had a workshop here with all sorts of posh doodads and ornatery tools, and one beaut of a hammer. You make mention of it still in there?
You're upsetting him.
Your point? You fellas take Anvari with you and go have a look-see. If you find his hammer, I'll whip up something real nice for you.
There is lack of medicine. You need insulin. You don't get it, you die. You need antiretroviral drugs. You don't get them, you die. That has happened. What we don't have is what we had back in the 1990s during the sanctions against Iraq. UNICEF actually
Anvari isn't happy about us taking this
determined that by 1996, 500,000 children had died as a direct result of the sanctions regime against Iraq. Now, there are estimates, of course, that hundreds of people in Venezuela have died as a result of the sanctions regime. Because if there is a delay in the distribution of medicine, say the government has actually succeeded in buying from Novartis or from whoever has managed to buy the medicine necessary, but then if it doesn't get distributed, and the distribution channels are in the private sector. So you have here a problem of lack of good faith. And I am calling for mediation. I am calling for dialogue. Back in 2016, 2017, 18, the former Spanish Prime Minister, Jose Luis Rodriguez Zapatero, had that kind of mediation, and they had a compromise. They had a case on the table on the day of signature. Okay. The Borges refused to sign.
Let me just ask you, because this is, we're getting a lot of questions when we're running stories like this. They're asking, what extent is the unrest a product of financial mismanagement by the Maduro government? Do you put any blame internally on the state itself?
Of course there's been financial mismanagement. As I told the governor myself, they have too many ideologues and not enough technocrats. But that's why I brought together FAO, UNHCR, the WHO. I had a meeting with them in Caracas, and I said, look, you know, the government, the people need your help. You are technocrats. Help them. And indeed, they are helping them. There is increased cooperation of the United Nations agencies with the government of Venezuela, and that is the avenue to take. But it is true. I mean, obviously, if you have a government that is run, shall we say, by ideologues, you do need to have the know-how, the expertise, especially in the field of buying and selling, in the field of finances. There has been a significant number of people who have left Venezuela and are today in exile. Now, these mines are necessary for the people. On the other hand, it is not for me. I'm an American. It's not for me to tell the Venezuelans whom they should elect. If they elected massively Chavez again and again, and they elected Maduro in 2013, 14, 2018, well, I mean, I believe in democracy. I believe in the ballot box. If you believe in democracy, you cannot boycott an election. Yeah. The name of the game is that you actually have to put your candidate and expect that the people will vote for you or against.
To those, you know, not particularly au fait in this matter, the casual viewer watching from the outset, they will be asking, why is the US taking such a hostile stance towards Venezuela? What is the brief answer to that?
Oh, that's obvious.
Oh, he did not like that. He's warning us not to go down there.
2003, oil-rich country Iraq gets devastated, and it's the major oil companies that are reaping the profit. 2011, Libya, another oil-rich country, gets devastated, and the oil companies are laughing. Now, if you read things that circulate in social media, things that you see in the internet, you know that there's an enormous interest on the part of U.S. business to get in there. The first thing that they will do is to privatize the oil industry. And not only the oil industry, people forget that Venezuela is enormously rich in gold. So all of the gold mines, all of the people who want to make money in exploiting gold will go there. They will exploit bauxite and they will exploit coltan. They have a lot of coltan. Now, the thing is, if it was properly distributed and the Venezuelan people were to benefit from their natural resources, that'd be fine. But when all the profits flow outside of the country, when they flow to the United States or to a very small elite of super rich Venezuelans, that does not serve the Venezuelan people, and I am very much concerned that the narrative has been overwhelmed with fake news. I mean, there's been a concerted effort to misinform the people.
It's very interesting to get your take on all this. Can you break it down for us, in your opinion? How can the current crisis in Venezuela be actually resolved? And as an aside to that, how do you think it actually will be? Is there a difference between the two?
Well,
come on, I can jump that thing.
Dialogue is necessary. The government is ready to have dialogue with the opposition. Of course, if there's going to be dialogue, it has to be in good faith. It cannot be, like in the case of the mediation of Jose Luis Rodriguez Zapatero, that on the day of signature that Julio Borges says, I won't sign. I mean, that is taking not only Zapatero for a ride, but it's taking the 6 ambassadors who participated in this negotiation for 2 years. So if Guaidó wants to speak seriously with the government, that is the way to go. That is the way I hope it will go, perhaps with the mediation through our High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, through the mediation of the United Nations Secretary General. So what we want to avoid is violence. What we want to avoid is shedding of blood. And I told the opposition people whom I personally met in Caracas at the time, look, if you topple the government, what do you think is going to happen? There are 7, 8, 9 million committed Chavistas. What are they going to do? Do you think they're just going to roll over? Do you think they're going to disappear? No, they are Venezuelans. They have rights, and they are going to demand their rights. So you cannot simply ignore their existence. So you have to make sure that you reach some sort of a compromise. It's not for me to say whether a person A or B should be president of Venezuela. That is exclusively for the Venezuelans to decide in free elections.
Okay.
And free elections means you're not going to boycott them. You're going to participate.
Okay, you've been incredibly good with your time this hour. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Alfred de Zayas, former UN Special Rapporteur, giving us a lot to think about in that discussion. Thank you, sir.
Without Supra, I couldn't a master driver. I trained my master driver ability by driving Supra a long time ago. I went to Europe together with Mr. Navister. He taught me how to drive a car. Many car is driving more than 200 kilometers. So I'm so scared. One
US Congressman and former US presidential candidate Ron Paul. Great to have you on, as always, Ron. It's a situation that it seems to be really splitting opinion now. The countries are lining up on either side of this debate, but importantly, Nicolas Maduro still has, it seems, the backing of the army. How difficult will it be to oust him?
I think it's going to be very difficult. I don't think he's going to walk away easily, and I think it's going to end up in violence. Could have a civil war. Some countries are lining up with him, but we've been antagonizing and threatening him and decided that we were going to install a president for him. And I would think even the people that might not like Maduro shouldn't like us settling the dispute. It's internal. They should settle it. And I think it's rather ironic for our government to say that they want to take care of Venezuela because they're not democratic. And we have to take care of it by, authoritarian approach of us installing a president, having a coup, and threatening with military violence because they're not democratic enough. I would hardly say that our position is very democratic.
Yeah, the irony is quite thick, isn't it, using undemocratic methods to impose a leader in a country they say is undemocratic. What do you think, and it's not just the US, there are several other Western countries lining up to side with the opposition leader, Juan Guaidó. Should they not be considering the impact of what they are saying? As you said, this could lead to violence in the country. People might die just because of this political rhetoric. Shouldn't they be bearing this in mind?
Oh, they should, but they have to look at the other side of the equation. The other side of the equation is, the Lima Group, most of them prior getting money from us, and we can threaten them too, or put on sanctions. So I think it's the pressure that's put on them and they come along. And I don't think they sit there and think, this is going to have civil strife and we're going to lose some of our people, because they probably have no intention of sending troops in there. I think it'll be a civil strife, and it'll be CIA and special forces and other countries doing the same thing. But I think they dream that they can, support the United States without a loss of life, and that it will be settled that way. But I think they're fooling themselves, because all we have to do, if somebody wonders what could happen, is they ought to look at U.S. foreign policy the past 10 years or so. More recently, what's happened in Syria, what has happened earlier on with Iraq and Afghanistan, and Libya. I mean, every time we go in and say, well, you need help, you need to be Americanized, you need to know our good values, and we want you to learn what democracy is all about, and we'll give you a little money, too, if you obey us. It's always that little tease. But it just violates completely and totally the position that I hold and the Ron Paul Institute holds, and that is nonviolence, or not getting involved, non-interventionism. It's not our business. I'm sure there's some harm done by Maduro and others, but where is it our job? Where do we get the moral authority to be the decider? To say, you are worse than the southern side, and that's why we're going to do it. Sometimes I wonder whether it's not a coincidence that Russia looks like they're going to mine some gold there. It's not a coincidence that Venezuela might be important, because they have a little bit of oil there too. So those are the motivations you never hear about, and they get a lot of people to go along. Yes, we are, the United States, a great nation, and we've had good values, and therefore we have the moral authority and responsibility to take care of bad dictators. But I think it leads only to trouble, and that's what we work on trying to prevent these unnecessary interventions.
Germany said that it will recognise Guaido and join that club on his side as president if a fair and legitimate election is held. What was the problem with the most recent election? Why are so many people saying it wasn't free and fair?
In Venezuela, people said the resistance, didn't even attend. They sort of boycotted it. But that's an internal problem. But that doesn't mean that if there were some infractions, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden we know what is best. And what we're doing is we're finding the truth, and we pick Guaido, and then we're going to put him, and he's the president. So yes, there are problems down there, probably on both sides, and that so often is the case when there's a breakdown like this, because economically speaking, I've been strongly critical of the economic policy of Venezuela, saying that it would lead to political problems, and that's why I'm so much opposed to government control of the economy, because it usually leads to impoverishment, and it's certainly, I've always argued the case, you end up with inflation, and they certainly have all these things, and it's food for fodder for the people who want to rebel and claim power. So it didn't just happen this past week. It's been going on for a while, and it's not like we've never paid any attention to them, because we have been involved behind the scenes for a while now in almost all the countries in South America.
Ron, you talked about the US sending the special forces in. If the big Western complaint is that there wasn't a free election, why don't they send the special forces in and hold an election and allow Maduro and Guaido to both run in it? Why don't they do it that way instead of sending in the special forces and seizing power and then handing it over?
Because it's none of our business, and we don't have the authority, and we can't force it, and there are laws, if you pay any attention to international law, and it's not even in our Constitution, because special forces going in and doing this is an act of war. We're invading and saying we're taking over, and the Congress hasn't had a say on this. So, and the other thing is the practical thing. It doesn't work. It makes things worse for us to get in. There's nothing like foreign occupation that unifies the people, because even some who have been against Maduro may say, we want to settle this dispute. We don't need the Americans to come in. What do they know that we don't know? So it's something that is unwise, very dangerous. It will be costly. It's against our rules. And if they pretend that we have to go in because we want to spread American values, those aren't my values. As a matter of fact, they defy what I believe are American values, and that is that we shouldn't be invading other countries and running off to the hypocrisy of it all. When you look at us criticizing others who have been involved, but when we do it, it's right and proper and almost holy.
US National Security Advisor John Bolton used the phrase trick of tyranny, I guess that's the new axis of evil, to describe Venezuela, Cuba and Nicaragua. Is that going to be, is that the new tactic to say, hey, there's a country, looks a bit unstable, it's got lots of let's let the poisoners go in and assist it?
On its own noise because it doesn't offer any solution and it just perpetuates the problem, endorses the idea that we should be involved in making these decisions and we should threaten people. I've claimed our problem is they won't accept my suggestion that we be non-interventionists. What they say is we tell people what to do and they do it. Well, we give them a lot of money. We give them foreign aid and all these kind of things. But if they don't, they're going to get sanctions put on them, and they're going to be threatened, and then it will lead to violence, and you want to overthrow government. It's just, I just don't buy this thing that the policy that we're following is a good example of American values.
The US has requested a UN Security Council meeting on Venezuela. It's one thing for all these countries to, just say it to journalists that we support the opposition leader. To actually go into the UN, sit down and make this official, it's documented, it's on paper, that's another thing. Can they genuinely put something together in the UN to try and overthrow an elected leader?
Wait, what?
They can try, but I'm not too optimistic. I've never had a whole lot of confidence in the UN. I used to think it was that we didn't get a fair shake because we didn't have all the votes, but we have all the money, and so we can pressure people into supporting things, just like we can get NATO to support us in doing things because we have the money and we run the show. So if the UN, as it exists now, is offering a place for discussion and moving toward a peaceful solution, I'm not going to oppose that, but I don't have that much confidence in the United Nations. To me, that's world government, and it's just who controls the government. It's just like domestic, who controls the government? Who's controlling the government in Venezuela? So I don't think that's the solution. I have nothing opposed to, sitting down and using that as a forum, and I hope some good comes of it.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, I always understood that diplomats or people in embassies in a country were there at the invitation of that host nation. Venezuela decided it didn't want to host US diplomats anymore. It said that they need to leave, and the US diplomats refused to go. What did you make of that? I understand they are now actually going to go, but they said that they were going to stay where they were, like some kind of political squatters. What did you make of that?
They were trying to enforce the declaration made by Bolton and these other ones that Maduro is not the government anymore. It's his hands inside. He's the government, so therefore he doesn't have the authority, and that would, emphasize and make the point that he is no longer in charge. I think the fact that the embassy, the personnel is leaving, I think it's very, very good because under these circumstances, we're supposed to follow, the person that it looks like the best person to represent that government. But those are side issues. I think the big issue is how the conflict in Venezuela is resolved, and I can't avoid always going back to economic crisis that contributes so much. So that people there, I'm sure, are pretty darn unhappy with the crisis going on. And so if you do it superficially, if you do it at the UN, or you put people to do something and they argue about who are we going to take directives from and whether or not we're going to close the embassy, that represents the debate going on, but it doesn't offer the solution.
Do you think if some countries said we don't recognize Donald Trump as the leader of the United States, we believe that it's Hillary Clinton, do you think maybe the US would think twice about these kind of actions?
Well, Hillary would be happy. She's been trying to say that he's not legitimate, and I think it's terrible that people just won't. I mean, he gets punished more than he should because of that. But I think if a foreign country did that and say we're not going to listen to you because you're not the legitimate president of the United States, I think it would unify the people of the United States. 9/11 brought all factions together because it was seen as an attack from outside, and so I think that is what would happen because they would highly resent it. but they never turn it around and say, well, if we don't like it, why should we expect other nations to like what we tell them and the government that we're going to accept, and if we don't like what they have, we're going to change it for them. That's the part that so many people never ask.
Yeah, it's a good question. Maybe they should. Appreciate your time, Ron. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Former U.S. presidential candidate and Congressman Ron Paul.
Father, please, just listen. Invari's crew did something bad here. He's glad you destroyed his lab, and he's sorry you kept trying to trick us. His hammer is just through this gate.
This is a fine hammer.
Invari says thank you.
Hostile climate of Orwellian uncertainty, the phrase united we stand, divided we fall has hardly carried with it more meaning.
No.
People have no idea how close we are to losing every freedom former generations have fought and died for. As the psychopaths in Washington, the control freaks in Silicon Valley, and the agenda-driven Operation Mockingbird yellow journalists of fake stream media continue to assault and insult the sensibilities of normal people who just want to raise and provide for their families and make a positive impact on this world. A couple days ago, it was reported that somebody supposedly set fire to Comet Ping Pong. That's the pizza place in Washington, D.C., owned by James Alfonso. This is basically the epicenter for all the Pizzagate stories allegedly involving John Podesta from the Hillary Clinton campaign. News articles appearing in mainstream media are plastering this guy's face all over the internet as the suspect of this fire. And Adam Green from the YouTube channel No More News was just publicly accused of being that suspect. Guys, this is a serious allegation for obvious reasons. One of which is the strong possibility that Adam's life could be placed in harm's way by teams of raiding FBI agents, not to mention other random people threatening harm if they find out where he lives. I'm going to let Adam explain what's going on. I'm Adam Green with No More News, and I'm documenting an orchestrated attack.
The
from
alchemist's
Zionist
hammer.
Jacob Lowell.
His spirit is a nuisance.
Nah, Andvari always was an asshole. Hell of an alchemist, though. Hand him over here and I'll melt him down.
What? You're going to melt down your friend?
A trapped soul's what I need to give your reward some extra oomph. You don't want it?
Father, we can't do that. Here, you hold on to him. He's really useful, I promise.
Fine. So long as he proves his worth.
Kid's a bit of a softie, huh? Well, he'll grow out.
Me lo dai.
What'll it be? Sure, that'll keep you out of trouble. Safe, loser boy. Where it would fry.
Keep those.
what you need. Anything else for you?
Pathetic. I'm gonna need that. Nope.
Now, about that other thing. Come on in, then. So much for peace and quiet. Now what was the other thing?
Come here. Can you finish that story you started?
We were near the end of Skadi's tale, as the Queen of the Hunt discovered that Odin had tricked her into slaying her own father. Aye. There aren't many happy endings for the giants, I'm afraid.
something down there.
It's terrible, dude. I think it's the pants.
No excuses, man. Let's do it again.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Lame Theory, the show that presents you with half-baked theories that fall apart under the slightest scrutiny. Kind of like a bootleg Nendoroid. But speaking of things that fall apart under the slightest scrutiny, we're here to talk about Kingdom Hearts. Boom! Perfect segue. Achievement unlocked. As fun and absurd an idea as it is for Donald Duck to team up with the kids from The World Ends With You to battle Sephiroth and save the cast of Tron Legacy, you know what's always bugged me about Kingdom Hearts? The lack of consistency with the views depicted. And I'm not talking about the alterations to the story Sora and friends bring about by getting involved. I'm talking about the blatant disregard for the Disney canon. For instance, in the Hercules the Animated Series episode, Hercules and the Arabian Nights, Hades makes a deal with the Spark to pit their respective enemies against each other. During the episode, Phil hits on Princess Jasmine, who responds with,
I'm married.
This sets the episode after Aladdin and Jasmine's wedding in Aladdin and the King of Thieves, while the teenage Hercules is still in training in the middle of the One Last Hunt montage. And yet, in Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora, Donald, and Goofy take part in the events of the first Aladdin film, while Herc is an adult and heading up Olympus Coliseum, seemingly after his own movie is concluded. This seems like a pretty major continuity issue, right? Well, as it turns out, there is a way to reconcile this issue, by slapping on another continuity problem and proving that two wrongs can make a right. See, in the movie, Hades doesn't know Hercules is alive until Megara mentions it after the encounter with the Centaur, after Herc finishes his training. But in the show, Hades already knows Herc is alive during his teen years, and the show never addresses this discrepancy. This suggests that there are two separate Hercules continuities. But Jam Bam, I hear you ask, how does this relate to Kingdom Hearts? Well, dear dearest, it's simple. The worlds of Kingdom Hearts are not simply different planets in the same solar system, but different Earths in their own universe. Similar, but different. After all, there has to be a world beyond the Coliseum and Olympus Coliseum and the world beyond Arabia and Agrabah. Who's to say that there isn't another Hercules running around beyond the desert in Agrabah? A younger, still training Hercules, ready to digivolve into a rookie. So when Kingdom Hearts 4 rolls around in 20 years' time and sees Sora's son venturing beyond the desert with Max and Goofy and Huey, Dewey, or Louie to find the animated series Hercules to team up with the movie Hercules and battle Noctis in the Coliseum, just remember that I called it first. But hey, that's just a theory. A lame theory. Next, we'll watch.
It was Odin who took arms against his creator and spilled Ymir's lifeblood with his spear. A necessary evil, he would say, to bring order to the realms. From Ymir's torn flesh, Odin would fashion the realm of Midgard for his own. Called himself All-Father, as if he was the creator and not the creator's destroyer. A small, covetous tyrant.
Ymir?
Huh? Oh, sorry, my boy. You know, I think it best we just end it there, actually.
Sight to behold.
That's an interesting
How do I get
I wonder who built
that?
it.
Do it, coach. No beater. I did that. So it picked up.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Another piece of the language cipher.
Commander Pavan! Kunkar wins. Pay your respects. There is a new king.
Wow, it's like there was an entire city under the water.
Aye, lad. A forgotten city.
What was it called?
Well, I forgot.
Oh, there's me and Lee. Fuck, I missed it. You didn't come out.
Get up!
Right. Can't see.
Thank you, Michelangelo, for the tech. That's really good. I don't know why I did that. That's so fucking fast. Oh my god, it didn't reach. Definitely reach.
What hooks do I have? What is this?
Woo! Challenge it.
Oh, what could be garbage? Yeah, full health.
Oh, there's their wallet. Why are you guys risk the entire team right there? I want you to go up the armor rig or not. Yeah. Colo killing Goro's father was fucking savage. Oh, fuck it, man. Look at the fucking damage. Holy shit.
You don't look too good.
Oh my god. I'm dead. Tell me where to park. Oh, okay. That one I yellowed. Yeah, I was guaranteed. Fuck.
Oh, what the heck?
God damn it. Forward 434, swing, cancel.